I'm really big on, I know I've shared this with y'all, I save like everything in my phone. Like birthdays, really special events, people's first day of school when I know it's something that they're stressed about. I've had, unfortunately, a few friends lose some parents to some pretty bad illnesses and stuff. So saving that, and that just looks like either a phone call or a text message that day and saying like, hey, I'm thinking about you, I'm praying for you. That is important to me because I would want, if I was in that situation, I would want somebody thinking about me and praying for me in that time too.
Dude, I love the energy. I love the energy. It's so great. Guys, I'm so happy to be here because honestly, there was a point today I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it. I was wound up, out of control. I sold some cattle to a guy, right? He's like, yeah, I'll pay you tomorrow. There'll be a check at my bank. It wasn't there in the morning. I was like, okay, cool. He's like, oh, just come to my house about noon. I'll have you the money. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll be there. He wasn't there. Dude, I had my gun out. I was taking target practice at some water bottles and stuff because I was like, this dude isn't going to give me my money. The cattle are already gone. So I'm not going to get my money. So I was about to drive to his bank and be like, y'all write me a check for him, all right? Like I was getting wound up, and then he showed up. So what you're saying is that a guy took your cattle. Yeah. Well, he
cattle means cows.
Like we do deals together, okay. And so he's like, yeah, you just load them. I don't have to be there. Usually they're there, you know. When they buy your and then he just took them, and he hadn't paid me yet, which I knew he probably would. But then, like, you know how your mind just gets going crazy.
So did you end up getting paid?
Yeah, I got paid.
Tell me, Curtis. I know you said you were going to be selling. We talked on the last episode just about how to name cows, and I named a couple. And Goat, I believe, was he sold in that transaction?
Goat is a she, actually.
Gosh dang it!
So that shows how much you care about her. Anyways, she's in Kansas right now. I haven't sold her yet, but I will. Gosh. So yeah, but anyways,
so Curtis was almost not
here. I was almost like Wild West. I literally like when he's like, I'll be there in a minute, and I went and like was just like, dude, what happens if this don't go through? Like, am I driving to Kansas to get my cattle back? You know, like what? I was going through all the scenarios in my mind. Do you guys ever do that where you're just like something like totally not bad happens, and you just go out and play the worst scenarios, and you're just like ready for?
Oh yeah, dude. There's so many times. Give me an example. I don't know example. I like freak out just about like the littlest things sometimes, and I just assume the worst sometimes, you know what I mean? And it could be like the littlest thing, like the trash truck came 5 minutes later than it usually does, and so I have to keep my trash over the weekend. I'm just like, what?
You are a neat guy.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this place. It's just very orderly.
I have a crazy story. So before Aubrey and I were married, she had her first interview at a school.
Yeah.
And I knew that she was going to be there. She said it shouldn't take too very long. And so she said, start making dinner on this point, and I'll be home like when dinner's ready. So I start making dinner at that point. I look at her location, and it shows her like on I-40. And so I'm like, oh, she's on her way home. Perfect. It'll be done when she gets here. I look on there 15 minutes later. She's still in the same spot. I call her. No answer. Call her again. No answer. So I get on the highway because it shows her on I-40. I'm like, she got in a wreck. Like that's my immediately. So I get on the highway.
Oh, gosh.
I start flying down the highway. It's 15 miles away. Is where it is. So I drive the whole 15 miles. When I get there, when I'm about 2-3 miles out, I see like what looks to be like a helicopter.
Oh my gosh!
Kid you not? Every car.
What's going through your mind?
Dude, I'm freaking out. At this point, I'm literally tearing up. I'm freaking out. I'm driving. It's 2-3 miles away. I see this thing. Looks like a helicopter. Every car's in one lane. So like when usually like that means like there was traffic. I'm like, dude, this is terrible. Mm-hmm. Terrible. Yeah. I get up there. Nothing happens. I exit. I'm like, that was a plane, not a helicopter. I'm like, then where in the world is she? And I get a call right after that, and I just lost it. I was like, I literally thought like you got in a terrible accident.
My goodness.
So that's one.
So what happened?
She's alive and well, just for those of you.
Oh, and she got the job. So that was
Praise God.
Yeah, that was
Praise
huge.
God. Hey, so welcome back to today's episode of Boost Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment down in the comment section below. We have got an incredible episode. This is episode number 6.
Let's go. First female guest.
Wow. Yes.
We're about to
guys, we are all friends here, and today we are bringing on one of our other friends.
That's right.
And her name is the one and only Alyssa Bane. Let's give it up. Woo! Come on to the set, Alyssa.
Welcome. Glad you could make it.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're glad you're here, Alyssa.
I'm glad to be here.
just for the audience, you are from California, which is like the promised land to me. I love California. I went there one time, and I literally did not want to come home. But now you are in Weatherford. It's a small town. What's the difference? Like, talk about that transition.
So I grew up for the first 6 years actually in Oklahoma. So like small town is not new exactly.
Actually,
yeah. So my parents got married when I was 7 and we moved to California. And went to
San Diego?
No. I don't know how to surf. I didn't live by the beach.
San Jose?
No. Lived in the valley.
That's by the beach, bro.
So like right in the middle of the state. It's an ag
right?
area. No, Fresno.
Fresno.
I want to live in
Fresno.
Malibu or something crazy.
Yeah, it was not that, but it was an ag area, things like that. I went to high school with about 3,300 kids, graduated with 800.
3,300?
Yeah.
I graduated with 140. And
Yeah.
Curtis was what?
That's 22.
Like
22.
Wait, did you graduate with 3,300?
No, I graduated with 815.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
no, I went
still
to
big.
school with
Keep going.
3,300.
Big school, yeah.
Then knew that I wanted to come back to the Midwest and went to college and grad school out here, and here I am in the smallest town I've lived in by far.
What about the Midwest called you home?
Just the small town life. I love it. I
Yeah.
love the farm life. I love just
Dang.
like I
I see
don't
you.
do the city. I have really bad road rage.
Yeah.
So
When I first moved out here, because I'm from the city too, when I first moved out here, I noticed that everybody waves.
yes.
Like when you're driving.
That's my favorite
Every
part.
single you drive
Favorite
by,
part.
wave, drive by, and I thought it was like the funniest thing. I would try to do it in Edmond, and I'd wave,
No,
nothing.
nothing.
Wave, be
Dude,
like,
one
man,
thing-
people are
One thing I
do
noticed-
in Edmond, I do it, and no one
No one
waves
knows
back.
that.
No.
One thing I know,
Wave back,
we
Edmund
talked
people.
about this the other day. We were at Walmart and we saw like 4 of our friends, and
Yeah.
you're like, dude, that's one thing I noticed is that every time you go to Walmart, it's so cool how you just see people. You know what I mean?
Aubrey and I will play games sometimes. We'll be like, okay, how many people we're gonna see this time? I'll be like 3, she'll be like 6, and then we go in there and we just see, because it's always somebody, at least one every time.
Well, today we're talking about friendships, the importance of friendships, how to be a good friend, all of the above. And like we were talking about, it's easy to sometimes, especially when you live in a small town, to have a good community and just good people around you, because there's not a lot to do. I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes you just get bored, and so you default to just hanging out with people. And so, Alyssa, in your opinion, what's the importance of developing a community around you? What even is a community? Let's start there.
I think community is a group of people that are pretty much focused and driven by the same kind of things and the same passions, same pursuits. For us, I think our friend group and my friend group in college was a lot about sharing Christ with other people and living that life. So it's easier to develop a community with people that have like-minded views and morals and beliefs like you do. It's kind of hard to do that with people that don't walk the same kind of walk as you do. So community is that, and then the importance of that is having people around you that uphold you and are there for you in the good and the bad. I've seen just how bad it is to not have community and who I was without that. My first year here, even in this small town before I knew any of you guys, was horrible. And the only people I knew were my work friends. And that was because we were like made to be friends kind of. And then my staff. And my staff and I had 12 college boys at that point, and those were my friends. And that was interesting. And so I reached a point last summer where I was like, this ain't it. Like, this is not enough. And I had a really good community in college, and I missed that. So I finally sucked it up and joined a small group, and then here we are a year later.
One thing I've noticed about lately is we have a big friend group, and that's been really exciting for me, and I know a lot of people else. I mean, this part of the reason this podcast started was because of our friend group and just the relationship that we've built. And so we've done a lot of fun things. I mean, we've gone camping, we go to Oklahoma City. What else have we done?
We've gone to see DJ Johnny Bounce
multiple times.
Multiple times. That's always fun.
What else we do?
We like to celebrate. You already talked about the birthdays.
Celebrate birthdays. We do
Birthdays.
birthdays.
Parties,
we
4th
do
of
birthdays.
July.
Oh, yeah.
Everything.
4th of July. Man, we have had some good times
We
together.
have.
We do a lot of things together.
Yeah,
We do.
For sure.
Very big difference from a year ago for my life.
That's good.
Yeah.
is good.
Oh,
It
it
is
is so good.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah, I feel like it happened pretty naturally. I think it really started back when Caden and I first met, honestly. This was like a huge starting point because he started coming to our church at the Edge and I was doing worship there, and that's how we connected because one of your friends played guitar, Bryce Butcher, who plays guitar, great friend of ours, and he is who connected me and Caden together. And then Caden had his friends from Elk City.
Yep.
I had my friends already built into the Edge Church as well as like Oklahoma City, Edmond area.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we started hanging out, our friend groups started hanging out with each other too. They collided. They combined. And that, I think that was like one of the biggest starting points to like this whole thing. Because then it was like, then Curtis came to the church. He got connected in the group, which brought Emily into the group, which brought Alyssa into the group. And then ended up Aubrey and Emily started working together. And then they started a life group. And you know, it's just like.
Do you think that kind of happened like naturally, or do you think it was like intentional?
I feel like at first it was natural. Like with like, especially like when it started with me and you, just because like.
Or passions kind of align.
Like what she was saying, just like when you have the same passions, with the same beliefs, when you bring those people together, it's just kind of, it's natural in a way.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think natural.
I think it was natural, but at the same time, on my part, a lot of it was intentional, especially towards the beginning, honestly, when we're talking about your friend group versus my friend group, like from Oak City and Edmond, because I was at a place that I almost wanted you to be a part of my friends, and I felt the same sense with you because I started to get to know a lot of your friends from Edmond. You know, we could name a list of like a lot of people. And
Justin Beaver.
Yeah, we had him on. Caleb Fisher, Noah Kerr. I mean, all these people. And so I think it was naturally, but I think that sometimes, you know, that does happen
and I think
intentionally.
I think that was intentional because of, like, my dad always told me. Connections in life are key. When you connect people with other people, they're like, you know, say you go to a job interview, it's good to have connections going into it just because of that trust that's already built. And so that was my thing. The intentionality behind my part was like getting you connections and then you getting me connections, like with people out here even. And so, yeah, I could see that intentionality for sure. That was a really cool time for sure.
Yeah, I heard a professor I had in college who was talking about marketing and connections. He said it's not really important who you know, it's important who knows you. You know, just building those strengths and relationships and stuff. So if they need something that you can provide, whether it be a friend or, you know, a job or something, they're there. So, Alyssa, you've talked about kind of going through different seasons of friendships in your own life. You mentioned how you moved down here, starting a new season in your life, and you missed your friends from college. So obviously, you know, you had some really great friendships there, and part of being in those friendships is intentionality. So what I wanted to ask you was, what is intentionality, and why is it so important in friendships?
I think that's, in my opinion, kind of the most important thing. Intentionality shows that you care for your people, and that you're there for your people. And if you're listening to them, that's going to breed better relationships. So if I'm listening to little quirks and little things, I'm paying attention, I'm storing that later, that gives me the opportunity to either reach out and bless someone later on, or it gives me like a connecting point to make that relationship stronger. Being intentional can look as one of my best friends in California. We once a week on her way home from work, she calls me every Wednesday pretty much.
Wow. That's cool.
And it's without fail every Wednesday. If we know we're going to be busy before that, she'll let me know and we'll kind of share that. But every Wednesday, and it's like an hour and a half because she commutes because it's California.
Dang. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's a foreign concept to me.
Yeah.
For those listeners not familiar, drivers in California are terrible.
Yeah.
I think drivers in general are just terrible.
Yeah.
You see them everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
You see them
It's
everywhere.
ridiculous.
But yeah.
Go back to school for driving, for goodness sakes.
Hey, we can drive in California, but that's where I got the road rage from. It's fine. I am so aware of it. It's cool. But yeah, so things like that where it's not someone like here and I can't just like go drive to somebody's house. That's that intentionality, or setting a reminder in my phone to call somebody. Or doing something like that, and then go ahead.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
No,
what are some ways like on a how would you say it, like on a daily basis, in a way that you're intentional with friends? Like an example.
There's certain people that I talk to almost every day in certain seasons of life. Like I just came out of the busiest season of my job right now. And so I haven't talked to pretty much anybody. I haven't seen y'all for weeks.
I know. Yeah.
I've been MIA.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long minute. I haven't talked to my family and my parents. Like it's just one of those seasons. So the past few weeks has been different. But other than that, is making sure I'm reaching out to people. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same person every day. I'm really big on, I know I've shared this with y'all, I save like everything in my phone. Like birthdays, really special events, people's first day of school when I know it's something that they're stressed about. I've had, unfortunately, a few friends lose some parents to some pretty bad illnesses and stuff. So saving that, and that just looks like either a phone call or a text message that day and saying like, hey, I'm thinking about you, I'm praying for you. That is important to me because I would want, if I was in that situation, I would want somebody thinking about me and praying for me in that time too.
Sure.
And
that's
then
really good. That's really good, by the way.
Yeah, I try to be intentional on that. I miss a lot of things, but I try.
No, that is good.
And then another thing that I do is I think it's just the most simple thing. If I can't like come and bring you a cup of coffee, I Venmo people like $5 here and there and say, hey, your first day of PT school.
Really?
Great.
I love that.
I remember you told me that one time. We talked about it. And I was just like, one day I just for some reason like missed this dude, my friend Blake. He lives in Omaha now, and I missed him. And I was like, I'm going to try this and see. And he ended up being at Disney World. He got to get a cup of coffee there.
Yeah.
So like that was
So you're saying
cool.
you just like Venmo people money just out of the blue?
Yeah. And I'll send because you can add like a note on Venmo and half the time I'll text them too and say, hey, I know you're stressed about this, do this. Which has been something I've done probably for the past year. I've tried to be real intentional because like, one, I get coffee a lot and like $5 here and there. I have like no budget for coffee, which is probably irresponsible, but it's fine. But
we all have that little thing.
Yeah, and that's mine, 100%. I'm like, coffee shops, all the money. But no, I do that. And what was really cool actually that just happened like a week and a half ago is I was like at an all-time stress level. And some friends that I've blessed in that way before, both actually back to back, did the same thing to me.
Wow.
And so I was gone at retreat for work. And they both had Venmo'd me and said like, hey, I know you're stressed and here's something like back to back, one on Saturday and one on Sunday.
So to me, sorry, go ahead, Curtis.
That's pretty cool. You've been talking kind of about a lot of like using a lot of technology to be intentional with people. So I wanted to ask you this: when are there times when you're like, no, I have to make a physical appearance to be intentional with someone?
Like the balance between physical versus like sending someone a text.
Okay. Yeah.
So obviously with your friends far away, that's not possible. But for, people who have friends they could actually go see today, like give us some like examples of opportunities where like, yeah, I should take that.
I'm all for coffee dates with people. I just had one today with a staff member. Scheduling time for people and showing up. It's all about who you show up for, and even just offering to show up and asking people, what can I do for you? Whether they've had a bad day, whether they're sick and you offer to bring them something, just being there for your people and then reaching out and being the one to initiate and say, hey, are you free sometime this week? I'd love to catch up and have coffee, or I'd love to go to a meal, or let's get the group together this week because I know everybody's
That's what I've
out.
noticed with you a lot. It's like I feel like she's always the mastermind behind like these big gatherings that we get, which I'm super thankful for because like most times they slip over my head. Like when Aubrey and I moved into our new house, we didn't like do a housewarming party or whatever. But I remember you telling Aubrey, hey, let's do something this week. It was like 2 months later, and we got together, played Battle of the Sexes, had some dinner, like snow cones, like, and so I love that. And even another example of like at church, like Hayden did a cover song one time, and then you not only went to the service and saw one, but you stayed with Emily, which is Curtis's sister, and you stayed again and watched it again, and that's just supporting.
That's super cool.
Kate,
Yeah.
So like on a scale, like if you were to say on a scale from 1 to 10, like how often are you intentional versus just kind of like not? You know what I mean?
Ooh.
Do you have... Putting on the spot.
Is there like
a... We all should do it.
Like,
I would want to do it too, yeah.
Not this isn't like a pressure question.
Yeah.
Like, do you lean more towards being intentional in all of your friendships rather than just kind of going with the flow, being like, hey, what's up? Like,
no, I would say not trying to be prideful at all. I think I have always been like the mom of the group, and I've been the mom of like everybody. And y'all have seen like clips of it. College was like it, and with my staff, like they call me mom, and I just like to take care of my people, and I get more excited watching like you sing on stage, and doing the things that you like, and watching this come to fruition that you guys did. We sat when it was a table and some benches or some chairs in here.
That was crazy.
And it was just a different thing. And so I get filled up watching the people that I love being around doing the things that they love, because I'm not musically inclined. I am not doing all this stuff. I am not a basketball player.
That's okay.
But I really enjoy watching my people do the things that they love.
Well, we love the social media shout outs. So keep
them
coming out.
I'm loyal,
we even got one from your grandma.
She's one of our top fans. Oh, also, shout out to Cooper. He's a 7th grade student from Clinton. Shout out to you. He says he watches the premiere every Monday night. He watches
do we need to get him on the show for a segment?
Dude, we should.
For a segment, maybe?
Cooper, come on the show.
Cooper, come on, buddy.
One thing that we love here at Boost is having fun, obviously. And one thing we like to do is play segments or games. And so we are going to play a game. So are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is Rapid Fire.
I'm too competitive for this.
Yes, this is the this or that edition
of
Rapid Fire.
I like this. Let's go.
So basically, can we get 60 seconds ready on the clock? You know the rules. You've seen the show. We have some things here. So let me know when you're ready, Caden, and we'll get started.
I'm ready to go.
Rapid Fire starts in 3, 2, 1. Chick-fil-A or Cane's?
Chick-fil-A.
iPhone or Samsung?
iPhone, 100%.
Winter or summer?
Fall?
Nope. Winter or summer?
Summer.
Mountains or beach?
Mountains.
Qdoba or Chipotle?
Qdoba.
City or small town?
Small town.
Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram.
Instagram or Snapchat?
Instagram.
Music or podcast?
Music.
Book or movie?
Wow, that was kind of a shot.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'll explain. Hold on.
Book or movie?
Book.
Night in or night out?
Night in.
Snow cone or ice cream?
Ice cream.
Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Crocs or Birkenstocks?
Birks.
Oh.
Sorry.
She hit all of them. She hit all
Sorry
of them.
to break your
Beat the
heart
time.
here.
46 seconds. That's a record here on Boost Podcast.
Yeah.
Let's give it.
Let's go.
Told you I was competitive.
Hey.
Listen, no, I am a loyal podcast fan.
Oh my gosh.
But I am a music buff 100%. So
I honestly, when they asked that question, I was expecting you to say Boost Podcast, not just podcast.
No pressure.
But
I'm a
Boost
little
podcast.
disappointed, but we'll forget.
Sorry,
okay.
it's fine.
It's okay. I was only disappointed on the last one.
Can you
Just
talk-
I knew
Can
Can you
that
talk
was
about
your idea.
your Cane's versus Chick-fil-A for just a few seconds? I know that's a huge topic for like a lot of people.
I'm so glad.
I
I don't know
think-
why
I
necessarily.
don't think we have
because it's-
Cane's in California.
Oh,
Okay.
really?
I didn't have Cane's until February. Was the first time I had Cane's.
wow.
I've had it like 8 times since then, but I really, really, really like Cane's. But Chick-fil-A is just the OG.
Did you guys see that Popeyes came out with a chicken sandwich?
I heard something about that on Twitter.
It's like this big thing. There's this hilarious video on YouTube you should check out. It's like these dudes, like they're acting like they're going through Popeyes drive-thru, and they're like no one can make a sandwich better than Chick-fil-A. And so they go, yeah, we'll just take a chicken sandwich, and then they drive through the drive-thru, and they just start throwing Chick-fil-A sandwiches at them and stuff. It's fake, but it's hilarious. I love it.
That
Shout out
sounds
to
awesome.
Chick-fil-A. Come on the show.
For real.
Sponsor us, please.
Sponsor them.
I'll eat a chicken sandwich every so. I will.
I've heard you talk a lot about just like the intentionality and the community, and it kind of just shows me like that you are a good friend. You are like
I can be better,
moments.
but I try.
So what makes a good friend, and how can people be a good friend?
For me, I'll just give my whole opinion on it. Obviously intentionality, because I love being the person that reaches out to people, but it means like endlessly more when somebody wants to get to know me and wants the same things. Yeah. And so what comes with being the mom of the group is that a lot of people don't recognize, like, how do you say it?
Like the
that
effort,
it's important.
Like the effort you're putting into
that,
it.
and that's not like a pride thing, but it's like to reach out to everybody in like your group and your people, and to be intentional with everybody, because it's easy to be intentional with one person. I can spend every single day with Emily, Curtis's sister, one of my best friends, but maybe not everybody else in my small group. And so
There's
trying the balance of that. And then something that I have been really big on is not expecting other people to act like me. And that like is a gut punch, because if I feel like I'm doing something well, and that I would want that for somebody else to like reciprocate that back, it's really hard not to get hurt feelings for that.
Right.
So
okay. Yeah.
if something you feel you're strong in, you have a strength in, like intentionality or like whatever it is, whatever your thing is, not expecting that, because expectations just kill your relationships with people. And that's something over the years I've learned, is that even like the best of my friends aren't the same as me, and they love very differently. And so giving people grace in that.
I know you said intentionality. That's like a characteristic to me. So like, what are like specifically three like characteristics that is like the best friend that you could have? Or I know it changes people to people, like friend to friend, just based on needs alone. But what would you say, like three, maybe just like across the board?
Okay.
Across the board, not necessarily to you, but that you think could be a great friend.
All you wanting to be a good friend, listen up here.
Yeah, there you go.
I
or
think,
wanting to find a new good friend.
or wanting to reevaluate your friends.
You're about to learn something.
Or you're a bad friend. Here, you need to listen to
self-awareness too. I think I don't want to harp on intentionality. I think that's just assumed at this point, so I won't even say that.
Okay.
I think transparency. I think being willing to be vulnerable and show people your baggage too. You can be there for people and all their stuff, but if you're not willing to open up and also share that part of your heart as well, you're not really making a deep connection. I think honesty. I'm so big on that. I don't want to hear people's just like filtered version of what they're going through or what they're doing, or I can be a bigger personality, so people can be scared of me, and so people don't say what they think and kind of back down, and I respect more people that will like buck up and go head to head and do that. So honesty and that transparency. I mean, intentionality is the other one.
For me, it's like
I want to hear your guys too.
For me, the first one that comes to mind is like consistency.
Yes.
So my biggest pet peeve, one of them is like flakiness. Like somebody says one thing, they do another. And I understand things come up and stuff like that, but when someone is consistent in what they say, what they do, and even coming down to like love in a way, because that's part of friendship, relationships in general, like just being consistent in just showing someone that you care, putting forth time. Yeah. And then I would say secondly, honestly, is like humor. Or, because to me, like
personality.
My best, personality, more personality, I guess.
You got to be funny if you want to roll with this guy.
Yeah. No. But like literally I've just noticed, and I think this is across the board, like usually your best friends are just people that you have a great time being around, and you can just go on and on for days and just talk or go do this or that. I mean, there's obviously times when you get tired of people. I'm just kidding. I thought
you were looking at me, bro. I thought you
was
looking right at me.
No, I'm not looking at you, Curtis.
Dude,
I'm not looking at both of you. No, I'm just kidding.
What in the world? What's going on?
No, I don't mean. I'm not being like that.
I have to cut right here.
No. Listen, I love both of you. All three of you, actually.
I think for me, the first one is like time. Like wanting to spend
quality time.
Well, just wanting.
Is that
to
your
spend
love
time
language?
It's my top one.
Same.
I just took the test recently again. My second one was gifts, which used to be my last one. So if you want to show some love, you can send me something.
Buy him some Crocs.
You can send me some.
Maybe
buy him some Crocs
in the form of Venmo, possibly.
Yeah, maybe a coffee.
There we go.
I would definitely say like time, not just like the quality of the time, but like showing me that you want to spend time with me means more than anything else. I'd also say like personality. I'm very like I like to have fun, so I want the people around me.
Crazy, brother.
I'm crazy. I like people around me that like have fun. And then the last one I'd probably say just like I want to see them I want them to like make me better, and I want to do the same for them. So accountability is probably the third one for me.
That's cool. What about like, okay, I want to dive into this a little bit. What about like toxic relationships? Because sometimes there's the people in your life when you either at the beginning everything's fine and it turns into kind of toxic, or it's just toxic right off the bat. How do you get out of like a toxic relationship, or how do you even notice when you're in one? What do you think?
I think toxic relationships and toxic friendships can be tricky. It's hard, and I've been walking through this, and I've talked a lot about it with Emily and a lot with Aubrey, Jared's wife, about how to balance that as like both a Christian and like trying to invest in people.
Because there's a balance.
There is, and where you don't want to just walk away from somebody.
Right.
But I think it is so much about setting boundaries and being clear in your boundaries.
And does that come like right at the beginning or like later?
I think it depends on the person, the situation. If you see, in my opinion, in my experience of toxic relationships, are people that either eat up your time and are constantly draining you, and are telling you everything you're doing wrong, or just complaining about every little thing, whether it's you or somebody else, and that are draining and not filling you back up with anything else. And there's a time to like mentor people and do things with that. But if it's a friendship that is just constantly bringing you down and tearing you down, and then giving no life back to you, there comes a point where you just have to like set those boundaries.
Yeah. And what does that look like a boundary?
In my experience, has been just being very upfront and honest and being like, hey, I'm not available from this time. I can't be available all the time.
So time being one of the boundaries.
Being like I'm on my phone all the time for work. And so a lot of the time I don't want to be on my phone when I'm not at work.
Right.
So like saying, hey, if I don't text you back today, that is not personal at all. I can't be available 24/7. Like I have to take care of myself in that. But I'm here in certain times. Some people need harder lines drawn than others, for sure. But just setting clear expectations and holding to that, and not like budging in the lines that you draw, unless obviously like an emergency or something like that. But you can't surround yourself with people that like eat you up all day long.
No, for sure.
Eat up your energy.
I've heard like just in leadership in general, like show me your friends, I'll show you your future. And I think that ties into the whole thing of just surrounding yourselves with people like what Jarrett was saying, that are going to push you and that are going to, you know, you can better each other.
And you become like the people that you surround yourself with. I fully believe that.
100%.
Yeah, they definitely have a large influence on your life. And you touched upon like, you know, viewing a toxic relationship from like a standpoint as a Christian. And I think one of the things in that scenario that's key is to ultimately realize that while that person might need help, there are some things like you just cannot do for other people. And they have to find those answers through Jesus Christ. So is there any point wherever like that's easier to realize and say, okay, like this kind of is this person, I need to like let go.
Yeah.
Have you like run across anything like that?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah.
You don't have to go into these.
No, I won't.
Looks a little personal there.
No. I mean, it's just been a learning thing the past few months in the summer, especially of not taking the weight of that, and not taking the weight of if I'm somebody's.
Because you always want to be the mom.
Yeah,
and so that's I feel like it might be hard for you to like let go.
It's super hard to let go of people, and if it's somebody that doesn't have like a good Christian community, that's hard to like set a line, because what if I'm the only person that they have that link to, or they see, and then I go and tell them,
for sure,
chill. So that's been really hard. But it's been like a really good thing, because it's not my responsibility. It's not my responsibility for me to show, like, for Christ to touch them. It's not like a weight on my shoulder for them to get to this, like, understanding of that. And yes, I play a role in that, and I'm supposed to be loving and supposed to be caring, but there comes a point where you have to give it to God, honestly, and you just got to be like, you know what, I've done what I can, and I'll continue to do what I can, but I can't take this, and that's not my burden to carry if they choose over and over again to not be open to that.
So would you say essentially your job in that relationship is to show them Christ's love, like through you ultimately?
Yeah.
And so whenever that friendship becomes too much to where that's really hard for you to show them Christ's love, that's kind of the line to kind of like, okay, if you've been around them like up till that point, okay, now I need to kind of back up so I can get refreshed so I can continue to do that again. Is that like a good explanation, or is that kind of missing something possibly?
No, I think that's good. I think it all is just situational too. It goes case by case in that of, I think you have to get to a point where it's just like, I have nothing left to give that's going to do anything different. Yeah. And if you're choosing to not like recognize this, then I can't do any more in that. And so I'm going to continue loving you, maybe from a distance, maybe taking a few steps back. But realizing that that's not on me.
So essentially, it's not necessarily just cutting people out of your life cold turkey. No. It's like, hey, this will be better for both of us.
Yeah, right. And that's a learning thing for that person too. If you're setting boundaries, someone's seeing what healthy boundaries looks like.
Sure. I love that, because so many times we're tempted just to be like, oh, this person's frustrating me, I'm done. Mm-hmm. And that's not a good message to send. No. So I really wanted to kind of emphasize the stay around them, stay involved, just protect yourself from getting over involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for sure. That's why I like accountability so much, but I think people get accountability wrong sometimes. Accountability is not necessarily going and pointing out the things that people are doing wrong, but it's what you kind of said, is coming alongside them, loving them in the moment, and helping them when they need it. Because there are things that you cannot do for somebody, and a lot of times, especially as Christians, you want to see the change immediately. And I read in a book, Friend of Sinners by Rich Wilkerson, who's a pastor in Miami, and it talked a lot about like there is no time limit on when that person's going to change or get better at or anything like that. It all is based upon God and how much they turn to Him. So like you said, you can only do so much in those moments, and the accountability that you're supposed to do is come alongside them, love them in the moment, help them when they need the help that you can help them with, but ultimately just point them back to God in those moments.
And I think that ties right into what we initially talked about, is intentionality. And being intentional in your relationships. That's one of the biggest things I took away. We talked a lot about community, surrounding yourselves with the people that you want to do life with, because ultimately at the end of the day, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Surround yourselves with people that are going to push you, are going to keep you accountable. And I loved when we talked about, how you send someone just like out of the blue. Like, you're just going to Venmo them, just make their day. And that's one thing I want to encourage our listeners with, is just try to be a positive influence in the people around you, whether it's your friends, whether it's just someone that you see at Walmart, because it does happen when you live in a small town. You do see people And so that's one of the biggest things I took away.
What I really enjoyed hearing, honestly, was don't just expect people to love you the way you love them.
Right.
Essentially, love someone to love them, not to get love in return. And just to encourage others, and don't expect things back for yourself, and just that unselfish love. Just hearing that just really encouraged me, because sometimes whenever I become intentional, I want intentionality back. That's not always going to happen, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
Absolutely. So, guys, I think that's going to do it for today's episode number 6. Let's give it up. Alyssa, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks
we
for
appreciate just the whole conversation and all that you brought to the table. We're all friends here. Can we give it up just for that at least?
Again? Yeah.
Again.
Never gets old. Never gets old.
For those of you For those of you listening, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment below. See us on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, and anywhere else that you stream and you get music, podcast, all of the above.
Every Monday night, 7 p.m.
Every single Monday night at 7 p.m.
Put it on your calendar.
Here.
And your Insta story.
And that's right. We are here and we are out. This is Alyssa, Curtis, Caden, and Jarrett signing out. Remember who you're called to be, what you're called to do, and have fun doing it. Peace.